Kneebaring is a great skill to have. It's not only a way to impress the others or piss some people off by finding a new kneebar, but I definitely believe it's something that could improve your climbing quite a lot. A term knee bar I actually find pretty confusing. I would rather use a thigh bar. Because when you're knee barring, you're creating an opposition between a lower thigh and a toes or the whole foot, depending on the size of the foothold. And the more force you're creating for an opposition between a lower thigh and a foot, the more solid you will feel in the knee bar or a thigh bar. Knee bars can be used either for resting or even further progression. Let's still to the resting though. My tip, for some of those that will always feel like endurance is their weakness, work on the knee bars, because with the help of the knee bars, even in most of the long routes, you can divide them into shorter sections, and with the help of a really good knee bar skills, you can actually climb some long routes. Of course, a topic to talk about when it comes to knee bars are the knee pads. Knee pads obviously make the knee bars more comfortable, mostly easier, and I would say more fun. Surprisingly, when we think of putting knee bars, we think of climbing on tufas or stalactites, where it's actually often the case that knee pad, yes, it is a help, but it's mostly a help to reduce the pain. The fact that you are wearing a rubber on your knee or thigh just reduces the pain, but you don't really need that higher friction of the rubber. Whereas often on the sandstone or granite or even in the gym, where it's much more looks like a smearing with your knee, that's where the rubber will definitely makes the things much more easier. By the way, knee pads are not allowed anymore to use them on the competitions, which is a decision I don't really agree with. I think they are really widely accessible, relatively cheap. Everybody can decide whether they want or not want to use them. And especially making knee bars in the gym on the plastic holds is way worse for the skin, and especially if you're making knee bar on a fiberglass, it might create a blister that heals for a really long time. Much longer, I find, than if you make a blister by climbing on the rock. Just as I find a term knee bar confusing, a term knee pad is equally confusing. Again, it should be a thigh pad. It's actually quite frequent seeing the people wearing the knee pads the wrong way, actually wearing them on their knees. That means their knee pad is too low, covering part of the knee, but that creates a problem that is really uncomfortable because it creates pressure on this part of the skin. And I mean, like, you don't really feel free when you're moving up. The proper way to wear a knee pad is to put it much higher, actually only on the lower part of the thigh, leaving the knee itself completely exposed, and then it doesn't create this issue burning the skin or creating friction here anymore. There are three factors that determines how good of a knee bar it is. Placement for the knee, placement for the foot, and the distance between these two. Now let's take a look at the placement of the knee. Of course, the bigger and more in-cut the placement for the knee is, the better the knee bar. If it gets more slopey or simply just more smaller, the harder it is getting. If we take a look at the foot, the bigger and wider it is, it feels more comfortable, and mostly there's much less pressure for your calf, and you'll be able to hang there more comfortably and longer. The smaller and more slopey it gets, the harder it is. And now let's think about the distance. The distance, of course, is individual. We have different length of the limbs, but I would say the perfect length is when the ankle is more or less 90 degrees. But still, you can compensate quite a lot. You can cover quite wide range of distance, judging that you can still stand like this, or you can go into really deep angle of your ankle. Like that, you can surprisingly compensate quite a lot. Nevertheless, obviously, if you stand like this and you're pulling onto a very tiny foothold, it's extremely difficult for your calf. A thing that is surprisingly not important is the placement of the other foot, but we will talk about it later. So this is Katka. She's a climber, but she has never tried a knee bar in her life. So this is the first try for the knee bar, and let's see how she does. I'm pretty confident she will nail it. So try to release the hands. Wow, amazing. How does it feel? It feels like you can still have to work with your core, no? So the way how to be able to relax the whole body is to go upside down with your head. If you have the courage, doesn't really feel amazing at first, but nice. And in this situation, the only muscle that is activated is the calf. Wow, amazing. First time doing a knee bar. So Katka did everything perfectly first try, so I didn't have any possibility to show any mistakes on her, so I need to show them myself. The most common two mistakes are following. Often you can see people just climbing too high and they want to put the knee bar while their body is already too high, and then it's actually getting really difficult to raise the head. It's like super physical. It's much easier to go lower and basically like your head could be at the height of your knee or potentially going upside down. Mistake number two is that you have obvious good foothold, you put the knee bar and you feel like you still leave the good foothold in the wrong position and then you want to release. It's possible in this position, but really physical and like almost impossible to go upside down. Even though this foothold is huge, it's great, it's much better to find the perfect position, which for my body type is here. No foothold, just pushing into the wall and release. Even if I stay here and I don't go upside down, this is the perfect position. For my case, even if here there was a huge foothold, I would still not use it. For me, the perfect position of the other foot is the most crucial. And of course, for every height, for every climber, the perfect position will be somewhere else. But imagine it's kind of a triangle and you want to push with your foot against into the wall. That's one of the most important things when it comes to knee barring. This is the best case scenario. Huge knee placement, huge foothold. But still, hanging there for 3-4 minutes, it's impossible. Let's give it a try. Until now, it was no problem. Now I start feeling that the calf is getting quite pumped. Oof. Pretty hard. This was 1 minute and 10 seconds and it was really tiring for my right calf. To continue, especially if there was like a vertical phase where I would have to like step on a tiny foothold, it would be very easy to get so-called Elvis leg, that it would be just shaking and I wouldn't have the confidence in my right foot anymore. But there is the solution. If the knee bar is good enough that you can switch the feet,
That means you are like this, and I usually go more or less 30 seconds, up to the point where you don't really get tired yet with the calf. And when you feel like you're getting tired, you make a switch for another foot. And you go upside down again. And like that, you can switch 2 or 3 times. And then continue. To summarize the basics of kneebaring, there are 3 factors that are influencing how good the knee bar is. The knee placement, the foot placement, and the distance between the foot and the knee. There are 2 most frequent mistakes that I encounter when people try to knee bar. They try to place a knee bar while their body is already too high, and then it's impossible to lower themselves in order to release the hands. Or they're trying to place a knee bar while searching for the best possible foothold and not the best possible position for the foot. Sometimes it's just smearing. If the knee bar is good enough, you should switch the feet, and due to that, you can stay there for a really long time and you're really utilizing the rest the best possible way. This was just scratch of a surface of not only knee barring, but many other tips and tricks that I want to share with you. Join me in a brand new membership section on my YouTube channel. And I can hang on. And then I would have to climb. And you really focus on the edge, biting into the knee pad just as high as possible. It's kind of awkward, but then you realize it's actually even better. Only releasing for a few seconds doesn't almost help you. But staying 2 minutes like this, that helps a lot.